Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Float, Odyssey, Telegram, and Twitch. Welcome back to the workshop, where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim. Today is August 6, 2022, and this is episode 149 of the Workshop podcast. And it's a different episode. We have Nate with us this evening. How are you, Nate?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Not bad at all. We're gonna do our roundtable post-apocalyptic book discussion this evening again. And wasn't it last month that it was just you and I to get started as well?
Yeah, I was out at the grandparents hanging out in the garage that one day.
And it was fireworks that night, wasn't it? Or was that a different night?
Yep. That was that night. So
that's all right. No, it'll be fun. Yeah, it's always enjoy this. I think Dan said he was going to be on a little bit, and I haven't heard. Have you heard from Rachel at all? I didn't know if she was going to be around.
I have not. I haven't looked in there yet. So
no, that's all right. So what have you been up to this week?
Well, we got our processing workshop this weekend, chicken processing. We got 5 of those guys done today, and then we're going to do 4 more tomorrow, and then 3 more on Monday.
Do you have different people coming on Monday, or you just?
Yep.
Is it? Yep.
Yeah, we have one friend who couldn't make it, so we're saving extra birds just to make sure they make them that long, because they're getting big, and when Cornish crosses get big and you let them go for an extra day or 2, they may drop dead of a heart attack.
Oh yeah. Oh, we used to worry about the turkeys and breaking their legs because they get so darn fat, you know.
Yeah, the Cornish crosses are the same way, man. They are. So the biggest one we did today was 7.3 pounds dressed.
Yes, sir.
And then the smallest was 6.6, I think.
Wow. Nothing wrong with that then.
No, they're a lot bigger than the last set we did.
So I'm going to attempt to start the stream here over on, let's just see, over on Telegram so that it's going, and we'll see if I can do it without any backfeeding. So I think we're good for now. So
all right.
Cool. So we, I guess we might as well work our way back. And so we've had a lot of fun so far. We're into book 3. What were your thoughts? Let's start right there, Nate. What did you think about book 3 to get started?
Book 3 is pretty good. I mean, it kind of went down a rabbit hole. I know them having to relocate is definitely a eye opener. It makes you kind of think about it. And there's some stuff that I've looked at and gone, okay, that would be a good idea. That would be a good idea. You know, it's kind of why my solar system is portable. You know, if we ever have to ducktail and run, I got a battery that we can just take and toss in the back of the truck. Same with a solar panel.
I thought about that a lot because, I mean, Morgan had a kick-ass solar system, which was awesome, you know, and it was a bug-in location, which was great. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, they were the whole book. I get my thoughts, I guess, on book 3. It was a great book, but it's more of did you find it like a transition book? Like, I don't want to say not a lot happens, because a lot does, but there's no resolution like the other books, you know. Right. It was more. Obviously it's setting up book 4, which we know, and we don't want to spoil for anyone else. But it was more of a, you know, most of the book was Sarge busting Morgan's balls, saying, "Hey, we need to move to the lake or the cabin," and Morgan's like, "But the family doesn't want to," and you know, Sarge is like, "Well, we need to," and then of course there's all the stuff with Jess at the DHS internment camp too.
Yeah, I book 3 was definitely really just setting up book 4, and once book 4 starts rolling, oh boy.
Yeah, book 4 is a lot of fun, hey?
Yeah.
Chris Dixon says the series is starting to lose me. This was a filler book to me. And yeah, it is. I always go, do you know Goodreads, the website Goodreads?
Yep.
Yeah, so I use that quite a bit to check out other books and see what's going on. And so I went on there earlier tonight just to flip through. And that was, well, there's 2 big complaints about the book in itself. But the big one is, number one, is that it's a bit of a filler book. It feels like it's just kind of filling time. In the overall scheme of things, I think it fits in really well. And I enjoy the book. But it's more of a filler book than 1 or 2. And
it's also a shorter book than book 2.
Yes, quite a bit shorter, isn't it?
Like you probably could have rolled book 3 and book 4 together
I was
And
thinking that, yes.
that would have been really good with book one. Like the progress of book one would have been that setup, same setup.
I almost think, I'm probably putting words in Chris's mouth, but I almost want to say, I think he mentioned the first two books were written on that internet forum,
Yeah,
I think,
AR-15. Yeah.
yeah. And I think the third one might have been the first one that he wrote with a plan in mind heading forward. So maybe
Right.
I don't know, maybe they broke it down and thought that, I don't know. It was a little shorter, but
Yeah.
it was a bridge. Like it filled in,
Right. I mean,
you know.
there's still stuff that happened in the book that's relevant. I
Oh,
mean, it wasn't a washover by any means. There's still a lot of stuff that happened and went, oh boy.
yes. And it was kind of fun dealing because I would say what about a third of the book was the girls in the camp. They spend a lot of
Yeah.
time. Yeah, maybe not a third, but it seemed to me that they spent a ton of time in there chatting and carrying on, and which is important because without spoiling it, most of the people in there play a big part going forward, or at least have reasonably
Yeah.
large roles.
Yep. Yep. I mean,
And
there's definitely, as you go forward, there's a lot of names that are mentioned in that book that you will see come back time and time again.
absolutely, yeah, and play pretty big roles and big supporting roles too,
Yep. Yep.
So what did you think, so talking about the move to the lake, and now did they act, I can't remember, at the end of book 3 they were just finishing up the move to the lake, weren't they? Or
Yeah,
had
I think they were there full time because they got the hogs all set up and
right.
they had done the trade at the gas station. If I remember, that was in there about halfway through the book.
Right. That was with the I don't know. I always picture her as really fat for some reason.
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm like, it might be in a dick. I don't know. Maybe they mentioned that. It just seems like one of them old, heavy breathing, greasy Southern women that, just licking her lips for a can of Spam. And that's okay. I nothing wrong with that. It just,
Pork and beans.
yeah, right. And it was interesting. I liked Sarge's interaction with her. And because that was when he basically traded a pig before he really had permission to trade the pig, wasn't it? Yeah, which was fine. He made it work.
Yeah, it was a 400-pound, 500-pound hog, and
Yeah,
like 10 pounds of beans or something for 75 gallons of fuel.
yeah. Jeez, can you imagine doing that math right now? Although the price of fuel's up, but what's fuel in your place right now around where you are?
$4.55 a gallon.
So even if you round it up to $5, right?
Yeah.
So 350, 300, so about $400 worth of fuel.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not the worst trade in the world, but
No.
because fuel was pretty shy too.
Yeah, I mean, outright for a 200-pound hog, we pay $1 a pound.
Oh, okay. So yeah, well, it's really not a bad trade at all, really,
Yeah.
especially considering that they had quite a few hogs on hand at that point. And
that was the boar, the big boar.
That was okay. Yeah. So what did you think? Or the thing that put me, I guess, in the shoes of those guys was the whole idea of needing to uproot the family from where they were comfortable. Because, you and I both are, husbands who have daughters and at home. So did you give any thought to that? Like did you feel with him? Do you know what I mean? Like along with it? Because to me, it was like, I really felt for Morgan because I knew that his wife was running him through the ringer saying, I don't want to move. And, how did you take to that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of the same way. That's like last case or worst case scenario is have to move from any position. If you're in your house and you have everything here and I got to pick up and go live in like a 10 by 10 cabin that has nothing and it's plywood walls and plywood floors, there's, that's going to be a huge deal. I don't care if you got solar or not.
And you know what? I can just imagine. I'm sure Aaron's pretty good about it, but I know my girls wouldn't love the idea of going to the bathroom in an outhouse and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Our girls do not like outhouses.
It is what it is, right?
Yep.
Well, let's say hello. Hey, Dan, how are you, bud?
Hey, brother. Good to see you.
Good to have you. This is great. You know what I never did? I never asked what people were drinking. You drinking anything tonight, Dan?
I just finished.
Oh, okay. Right on.
It's been beer all day. We played golf early this morning, and we finished at a Japanese restaurant and had some beer over there. So I'll grab another one.
Nothing wrong. I got Maker's Mark tonight, of course.
Oh yeah.
There you
go. Nate, what are you drinking?
I have some Angel's Envy finished rye, finished in Caribbean rum casks.
Have you decided what you think of it yet?
It's real sweet, which is not something I'm used to.
Okay. Well, considering you're not really sweet. What's that? It's got some bite?
Some bite, yeah.
Yeah.
It's 100 proof, so yeah, it'll put some hair in your chest.
So here's actually Dixon says, he says, I can't help but feel that they brought hell to their own front door with all the shenanigans they were up to. Anybody, you want to talk about that, Dan?
Yeah, I kind of look at like modern day, what's going on, like the whole China, Taiwan, Russia thing.
Yep.
So you look at that and it's like, do you really want to be meek, or do you really want to stand with a front? And so going back to the micro versus the macro, it's like, do you really want to be? I think this is totally a gray man situation. If this was me, I would want to be the gray man. I definitely don't want to bring anybody in. I want to lay low. My wife and I, where we have our bug out place, it's a dead end road. There's nobody going to come out on that road unless they belong there. And if you show up there, then there's going to be a lot of questions from the time you get there until you get to where I am, for example. I am not inviting anyone out there. So I'm going to lay low. I'm going to do everything I can to protect me, my family, and make sure that at least push everybody off. I want somebody to like take a detour or something before we get there. I can't understand exactly after, being in this third, actually I started the fourth book, but I can't understand. Are they in a subdivision, or are they in just some like little country neighborhood? What is that situation out there? But it sounds to me like it's kind of a country suburbish kind of a thing that they've got, and it's way too open. It's not defended well enough. And as my mind has been drawing the picture of the way that the book has been written, I think that it's kind of like 100 houses in this little 1 mile area, and that's where everybody is. And you have like a volunteer sheriff, volunteer fire department, those types of things. And I think everybody has been tight enough all these years, and now when everything has gone down, it almost seems like DHS, Homeland Security, or whatever you want to call them, and then FEMA, it seems like they're paying way too much attention to this little rural area. So I don't know if it's at scale where it actually would be in the real world. I still think that it stretches the imagination enough that you could probably equate that to where most of us are, in kind of like a suburban area. I'm kind of in a suburban rural area in a subdivision kind of a thing. I have a lot more freedom here, and I could kind of see that happening where I live.
Yeah. I see it a lot as a kind of how our neighborhood is set up. We have probably about 20 or 30 houses back here on a horseshoe lane, and you have the one house that has 40 or 50 acres. That was the lady at their back where
she had people coming in, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if that was this book or if it's the next book.
Yeah, you're right. It's this book.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was the one that Morgan killed the deer and then took her pieces of it when she was so skinny. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's because they talk about her. They talk about her having 40 acres. So
right.
It's funny. That's when you said that, Nate. From your description of where you live, not that I've been there yet, but that's kind of what I was picturing, because you guys are kind of the rural fringe of the urban, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah. And this whole community of Morgan's kind of backs up onto a whole bunch of land, which I guess gives them some security, but it also, like they said, it's still pretty open, and hard to defend. They've got it kind of bottlenecked with their checkpoints and everything. But like Chris said, I kind of find Morgan's on the offensive more than the defensive sometimes, right?
Right.
So
A lot of that has to do with Sarge too. I think Sarge goats him into it.
he does. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I totally get it. I do. But the whole marching the guys down within a couple of miles of DHS and slitting their throats or shooting them right there, it's like, it's almost, come on, guys, you're just asking for it.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you just do that somewhere in a swamp? Put a couple of bricks on them and let them sink.
I know. I think I'm sure it has a bit to do with, like you said, with Sarge. I think there's more, Sarge knows more than we know at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And he probably already knows what his mission is, so he's kind of tried to piss him off. And then, of course, Morgan and was it the old sheriff that took off and joined the DHS?
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah. They never got along a whole lot. And again, that goes back to Morgan being on the offensive all the time when he was nice enough to dispatch his neighbors, remember?
Right. And then, was I right to say Morgan put a bullet in Mark?
Yes.
No, not Mark.
Was it Morgan or was it his wife that shot him?
Oh, no, you're talking about at the end.
Yeah, because that was in this book, right? When the old sheriff finally gets, I'm sure it was.
Yeah, I think so.
I just re-listened to it, and
because Mark in the third book is who attacked Morgan.
Yes,
in the town when the DHS showed up as they were bugging out, or right before they bugged out. Mark was there.
Yes, yeah, he was basically spearheading it. It seemed like, or at least a big part of it, because that was the kids. Wasn't Mel and the kids? They were out hiding in that tree, weren't they? Or they were supposed to.
That's right.
Right. And was it Morgan that shot him, or was it Mel or one of the kids that shot him? It was Morgan, was it?
It was either Morgan or Danny. Morgan, Danny, or Thad, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't remember for sure, but yeah, I was glad he got his. That was nice in the book anyway. That took that they were able to get rid of him anyway.
Yeah.
In the Telegram group, when I was in book 2, I felt that there was something really negative that was getting ready to hit Thad, and I'm just going to tell you, I got a little emotional when everything went south with Thad and his family. It really, it hit a spot. I don't know why it did, but I think I was projecting his son. I was projecting something with that little boy. And so, I had to take a pause. Like, I was breathing heavy at that. And it's like, okay, I can't go on right now. So I had to just kind of think about that for a minute, but that it was so sad. And if you remember before the book 2 part started, I said something about, oh, don't spoil it for me, but I really feel something bad's happening to Thad. And then after he got home, it was like, okay, great. I think we're going to have a successful story here. And then, DHS and the mailman FEMA and the mailman shows up and ruins everything for him. Sucked. Oh, that was hard.
The mailman just cracked me up. I don't know why. There's just something about the fact that you got U.S. Post running around doing all the dirty work for the government. There's something fitting about that.
Yeah. It's that turn in book 2, I think, got everybody because it came out of left field. Yeah. Like, you didn't expect that at all, and that was way the hell out of left field.
Yeah.
Book 2 is so, man, that book just kills you, because not just what happened to Thad's family, but what Thad does afterwards too. Oh my God. And if it doesn't jump up and grab you a little bit, there's something wrong with you, because
37 chapters to finally hear from Jess. I'm like, when are we going to hear from Jess? When are we going to hear from Jess? And then at the very end, it's like, okay, here we are. And so the build that they did from book 2, just to concentrate on this camp that she's in, was fantastic. I think he did a really good job with that piece.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the camp there, Dan?
Well, I was in the Marine Corps for a lot of years. Kind of sounds like one of the places that we hung out. Honestly, we did a lot of exercises where we would have enactments of terrorist camps and things like that, and everything's all tied in. You're here for your own good. It wasn't as slavish, but you start getting people after a while that are running these things, and they do start getting that attitude. They do start feeling like they're the master to the slave kind of a situation. So what was going on with Singer and the way that she was reacting, I think that was totally natural. I think that's exactly what could have happened.
Yes. Did it ever say what Singer did before she was at the camp?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Anybody want to make a guess? Because she really strikes me as a government employee. I could be wrong, but it seems like the type of person that has no home life or was miserable at home, so she got her control off of her job.
You know what? She was probably a freaking wastebasket emptying person at the payroll department for the federal government. And they said, hey, we need bodies in this encampment over here. And she's like, oh, I got some power. And then she went stupid.
Have you guys, either of you, read 299 Days?
No, not yet.
I've gotten through book 4.
Okay. So I'm rereading it now, or re-listening, or I'd been jumping around, but I listened to it for a while and then I get bored and I went on to something else. But there's a neighbor in there that attacks the main character's wife, and she ends up going off to run an even worse version of a FEMA camp than this. And she reminds me quite a bit of Singer. Just kind of useless until she gets there, and then the power goes to her head. So yeah. And can't Chris, or Angry American, he can write bad guys or antagonists like nobody else. People that you hate, right?
Yep.
Here, baby.
So I eyeball into book 4. Wait till you get the Niagara.
Oh yes, Niagara. And yeah, anyway, I don't want to. Oh my God,
Yep,
I just want to talk.
Leave it at that.
I know, I just want to talk about it, but I won't. But yes, what a piece of shit. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Singer is just okay. I almost wanted to jump up and cheer when Jess put Singer in her place. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yes.
That was great.
Yes.
It was like Jess went from a meek and mild girl to that was the point where she really found her balls, eh?
Yeah.
And then Mary tried to disappear into the floor.
Yes. So I put a note. I was listening to that, and it almost seems like Mary has either Stockholm syndrome or PTSD or something.
Stockholm syndrome. I absolutely thought that. Yes.
Yeah.
She ratted. Well, as we go,
yeah.
She ratted, right?
She did. That's right. I forgot about that. I think that's why I wrote that down, because she was the one they because they really didn't know. They suspected. Singer thought. And speaking of that, jump all around. Is that real? Do you think, killing somebody with chewing tobacco?
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Totally unrelated, but we watched Ozark. And one of the things that they brought out in Ozark was all of the cherry pits have cyanide.
Arsenic. Or cyanide,
levels.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so she had crushed up all these cherry pits, and then she made coffee with him. She was on a hike, and then all of a sudden he has a heart attack, and it ended up being cyanide poisoning. But yeah, I heard, back in the 80s, a friend of mine told me, he said he was tired of a certain individual in his life, and he said, all I have to do is just take about a pack of cigarettes and just put that in the coffee filter, and then I can make this person have a heart attack.
Wow.
I mean, that's it. So those vape bottle juices.
Yep.
You've heard of kids getting a hold of those things and drinking them and dying.
Oh,
yep.
Yeah.
And there'd be way less flavor even than that. Not that this is totally hypothetical conversations here, guys, NSA, whoever's listening. So yes, but that kind of thing reminds me of something that I would have read back in high school when I was big into like the Anarchist Cookbook and things like that. Did you guys ever get into that back in the day?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, totally. Oh, he's probably got it written. I remember. Oh, that was awesome. Yes. Sure. The stuff in that's got to be pretty
here on my
now.
desk. Yes.
Yeah, I downloaded it.
Yeah. Oh, back in the day. Yes. I'm not even sure how I got a hold of the first copy. It was on the internet in like
Mm-hmm.
95, 96, something like that.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
even, yeah. I was working, no, it had to have been 97 because I was working at the library and I downloaded it and printed the whole thing off. And
Yep.
even at that point, quite a bit of stuff was already starting to get a bit dated because it was all that phone freaking and things from the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yep.
that had kind of passed. Oh, Jolly Roger's Cookbook also. That's from, do you guys remember that one? I vaguely remember that.
Mm.
I don't remember that one. I'm 53. I don't remember it.
Jolly Rogers, I'm pretty sure, was a hacker, and I think he might have been the one that ended up going to jail for a while. So Freedom Media knows for sure. But yeah, I love that kind of. I watched a documentary on phone freaking a while ago, and it was, yeah, I don't know how we get down this rabbit hole, but it's fun. So it's our show. We get to do what we want, right? But
hey, I'm going to
go
sidebar
ahead.
real quick. I was able to do the podcast like 2 days after for the first book. The second one, I haven't even listened to it yet. But my schedule has been so jammed up this summer. So I have really been looking forward to being just listening to everybody talk about book 3. And then I had no idea that you were going to let us be a part of the whole thing. So thanks, Tim. I appreciate
Oh
that.
no, I guess I should have been more. Yeah, I love it. It's fun. This is some of the highlight of my month, man. It was funny because it all just came out of a conversation. I was like back in March or something. I'm like, we should start a book club. And I said, well, when I get back from vacation, because then you mentioned it to Chris in his live stream, and then got the ball rolling. And, it was awesome. And we'll have to have him back on too. Well, I mean, it's up to his schedule, of course, but I was kind of thinking maybe around halfway through book 5 or something. Maybe we'll see if we can get him back on.
Yeah, have him jump in on book 5.
Right?
What's that?
11 books right now.
11 at the moment. 12. When he was on the show, it sounded like 12 should have been coming out in August, but I haven't. You guys seen anything on that yet?
Not yet. 12 should be coming out soon, but he's talking at least 20.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. I love it.
He's a great writer. He really is. He doesn't look like it. He looks like some guy he's going to sharpen knives and do some gardening, but man, he's
sit back and chew on a cigar.
Yeah.
There's a guy I follow on TikTok. I think he's the guy that sells. You heard of Battle Box before?
Oh yeah.
I think he's the one that runs it, but he reminds me a lot of Chris as well. They're just kind of those big burly, prepper survival types. And
you asked what we were drinking, by the way. So my wife brought me up it's called Wilderness Trail Kentucky Straight Bourbon. I have about 20 different bottles of various bourbons, so that's what we got tonight.
I got to break into some more. I got a couple more bottles over there I haven't even touched yet, but that's okay. I still got quite a bit of peach fuel to finish up yet. So
you Canadians got to get better stuff north of the border.
Well, you know what it's like. Well, maybe you don't, but it costs an arm and a leg and another arm just to buy it up here.
Yeah.
But even if you figure in the exchange rate, we pay about twice what you guys pay for your liquor. So that's why I always buy it in the States and bring it back with me, what I can anyway.
Well, when you had me on the podcast, several months ago, I was the profile person or whatever you call it. That was a Sunday night. I had to call off work the next day. The conversation was flowing, and so was the bourbon. And I had to take a day off.
It's all right. It happens. Absolutely happens.
Okay. So
yes, go ahead, Dan. We never got you to share your thought. You're here now, but I got Nate and also I did. We shared kind of what we thought and a quick overview of it. But so what were your kind of initial thoughts of book 3?
I thought that they did a great segue from 2 to 3.
Yeah.
But I really think that they kind of overkilled a little bit on what they're doing with Sarge and the guys. It was almost too convenient that they could drop into this little suburbia that they live in. But poetic verse, whatever he's doing with this story. Okay, let's stretch the imagination just a little bit and let's go there. So that was totally okay, but a stretch. But as we got further and further into the story, I like the way that he has developed everything between this new National Guard element that they're having conversations with. I like what they have done there. I totally agree with Spoiler alert, if not everybody has done this particular book, but what he said about we're going to watch and see what happens. We're going to see what their the TTP, the tactics, techniques, and I can't remember what the TTP is, the P part is, but we're going to watch and let them, basically kill these guys. And if they all die today, we're going to learn from it. We're going to see what their protocols are, and then we'll be able to learn from that so that we can fight them another day. I totally see that. I mean, I think that's totally legitimate because, as small a force as they are, if they had rolled down in there and the guy that had gotten away in the prison bus and all that, remember whenever they brought all of them back and they were having that little conversation with them and then they got the attack. I totally can see that. And I can totally see not wanting to engage in it, although it would be unfortunate. You're not going to take your small force into a battle like that, knowing that you're going to get wiped out.
We got another military guy and I need to shout out to Jake. Yes, of Ravenwood Acres. If you guys aren't following Jake, what a great feller. He did a whole comm series, and he also does a whole bunch of Stanley cook stoves and that kind of stuff, like old. Yeah, just what a great channel. And Jake's just salt of the earth kind of guy. We're gonna have him on the show when he's finally back stateside. So if he's in Korea right now, I'm sure it's a late night, but he might be back. So yeah, he's spent quite a bit of time over there. So there's a few other notes. I really like I think it was Morgan that had the Berkey filters and made a filter out of 5-gallon buckets.
Yep. Yeah, that was like a whole setup.
That's that. Yeah. That's real.
4 days, he said. So he'll be back in 4 days. That's good. Yeah. I think not that he's counting the days down, but yeah.
Nate, I jumped on you. I crawled across your talk there. What were you saying?
Nicole had that set up at LFTN. That 5-gallon bucket Berkey.
Oh, okay. I didn't even notice. Yes, I do remember talking about it, though.
Yeah, that's what that was. Kind of underneath that patio.
Yeah.
Over on the right side. She had a toilet valve in there, so it would actually fill up.
Oh, I should have looked at that. That's cool. Yeah, because
Andy Higginbotham built it for her.
Well, you know what? He's coming back on the show in October, so I will pick his brain then.
There you go.
That's awesome. What about they had a conversation? Was it Morgan and Thad? I think they talked about what they missed, and one of them mentioned Little Debbie cakes. I don't know why that made me smile so much, but I always reminded me of the Zombieland. When Woody Harrelson is looking for Twinkies, right? Twinkies, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to laugh. I because they were talking about. Wasn't it Big Macs too, or Wendy's? What was it he was talking about?
It was one of the fast food chains.
Yeah. What about so Sarge? I'm bad with names. Remember they ran into the family or the dad with the teenage son. Chase. The dad was a real kind of salt of the earth kind of guy, but the son had a deadbeat friend, and they ended up breaking into the cabins and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they told the story about he made him go pick up a switch, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Or what's your own switch?
Yeah, it was Chase.
Yeah, that's it.
Around as your thumb. Yeah.
Yes. And it reminded because I had my dad on the show a few weeks ago, and he talked about that too, about how his father would tell him to go out and cut a switch. Thank God he never did that to me. But
isn't that who they met at the antenna?
Who was it? I can't remember. There's so many kids. The guys they met at the antenna were the same people
that Morgan ran into at the helicopter, right? At
the helicopter, yes. Yeah. And then I don't know. There's so many of these little communities, and they keep popping up too, which is kind of cool. I can't wait for him to turn this into a TV show, a long form series, because it will be rather interesting. Rachel says it was Five Guys Burgers that he was talking about.
Yes, that's who
I remember that.
I've never had a Five Guys. I need to try it sometime. I've heard good things.
No,
they're not worth it.
Oh, it's a heart attack waiting to happen, and it's the best G-damn burger you'll ever eat. For me, personal preference, yes. I've been keto for so long. He started talking about Little Debbie's, and I'm like, oh my God, I could use one of those oatmeal pies right now.
Yeah, and funny, I know. I love those things, and then when you eat them, you're just like, just I don't know. It just doesn't. It lets me down sometimes. But so, what about the cabin guy? You know, the crazy, but he's not quite crazy. Okay, I don't want to give too much away because they run into him later on. But so, do you remember, Nate, how this interaction went? Because it wasn't too crazy, was it?
The original one was not, but him firing off the round when they were going down the road kind of leads into it. And yeah, he does come back.
Yes.
And
yes, he does.
When he loosed that round, I probably would have fired around back at him.
Yeah, because they were just driving along and he kind of stepped out and shot from a distance, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
Remember that.
It'll all come. You'll remember more when he comes back the next time.
Okay.
Right? We won't. Yeah. But they ran into him. Was he originally living at the cabins where they moved to, or was it a different set of cabins?
No, he was at the
park.
The park with the bathrooms, if I remember.
Right. That where they'd occasionally go
the
for
picnic
a swim.
table. They ran into when they went to go get the picnic table.
That's what it was. Yes. And he just kind of he strikes me as maybe a guy that was on, anxiety or some kind of crazy medication, and it just gradually got worse as he didn't have it,
Yep.
Because he definitely. Oh, look who we have. Almost. Rachel's on her way. There we go. Hi, Rachel.
How's it going?
Oh, I'm having that echo feedback thing like last time.
Oh, perfect. We can't hear it on our end. It's good so far. But...
And
your dog bark.
Now the dogs are going ape shit. I'm gonna back out of this and see if.
Sure. All right.
So,
yes,
what,
go ahead,
what you're talking about kind of pulled my mind toward the clearing. So, after they cleared or they killed the DHS/FEMA, I can never remember which ones they are. They're both evil, so it doesn't matter. But whenever they went through the trailer park and started killing people,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm reading the part about the old man I think he was eating on a TV tray or something, watching television or whatever he was doing. I don't think that was really fleshed out very well to make the reader understand that they were dealing with a bad guy at that point. So at first, he did later kind of flesh that out, but up front, he didn't really say it well. And I kind of felt like, well, they just went and killed some old guy for almost no reason at all. So it really, it didn't sit well the way that it came across. But after they went out and they were around the picnic tables and the fire and all of that little piece of the story came out, it started making sense. Like we were definitely in an encampment, and maybe that's what the reader was supposed to understand is they were in an encampment of people that were DHS people in these trailers, in this trailer park that were being taken care of because, they're taking care of the lady who wanted the pig and all that stuff. She gave everybody the fuel. So, maybe there were some assumptions there, but it really didn't register quite well with me until probably several pages later that, okay, it was a good, clean kill. This was definitely a bad guy. But yeah, that portion wasn't really well fleshed out, I didn't think.
Chris does that a lot. This is probably the third time we've had this discussion. I don't know how to put it. I want to say he shows before he tells. And it seems I would say it happens once in each of the first 3 books for sure, where the protagonist does something that makes you question their motives. You're like, wow, you just killed somebody for no reason. And then after the fact, one of 2 things, either Chris, the author, already thought about it, or he's like, you know what, that did seem a little harsh. I better add in a little bit to justify it, because it always comes out in the end that they were right. But a lot of times his characters make decisions and maybe they have the knowledge, but we don't, as a reader, we don't have that knowledge. And it makes you feel a little uncomfortable, almost like, oh, these guys aren't that good. And then afterwards, he's like, oh, by the way, they were really bad. They were pedophile, friggin' mass murderers, right? Like, because again, it happened, with the serial killers, right, Nate? Or the boys there that they found out were the...
Yeah.
And then it happened.
The ones in the shed in book 1?
Yes, it happened multiple times.
Yeah.
Hey, we got somebody in here. I'm just going to shout out to Survival Punk. He said, an apocalyptic book that I haven't read yet. Well, we're deep into spoiler territory for book 3 of this series. But my friend, it's great to have you, and you're more than welcome to hang around. But we're big fans of the Going Home book series here. So if you're interested, dig around and read them or listen to them, because if you like audiobooks, Duke Fontaine is an incredible narrator as well. But yes,
I want to know
dig into it.
I really like him. He is definitely a good order. I did a lot of the books for the Longmire series, and George Goodall. He's a very good order. But I would actually put Duke Fontaine kind of up in his category. He does intonation very well for expressing the female voice in that. So I really like him. I think Chris was what's his last name? Chris Dixon.
Yeah.
Chris Dixon. I am not 50. That's all I remember him by. But we had a thing on Telegram, and Duke Fontaine. It was keying in everybody's head, and it reminded me of the movie Grease. Remember the TV guy? And it was like Duke Fontaine. That was the guy behind the camera. I don't think that was his name, but that's what it reminded us of.
Because it's so one thing that was cool that Chris threw out when I interviewed him was that Duke is apparently a fairly well-known actor in Hollywood, and the name Duke Fontaine is a pseudonym, or a fake name, because he thought if he was attached to narrating a prepper / survival book, it might hurt his career or something. So
yeah, I'm curious who it is.
I know, it drives me crazy when he mentioned that. I was like, oh yeah,
I can't pick out the voice.
I can't pick out voices anyway. I'm bad at the best of times, but
well, it's got to be somebody good that can disguise their voice.
Yeah. And what I think one of my favorite parts about Duke, you're talking about his intonation and things like that. You can tell who the character is that's speaking just by his voice, and it's just, sometimes it's just slight, and you don't even realize who's speaking until you're listening, and you're like, oh yeah. And a lot of times it's just a little up or a little down, or, he's just so good at it.
Yeah, that's the thing. So Sarge and Nate, they both have a very similar sound, but he has just enough difference that you can tell the difference between the two of them. So I think it's Nate. It's one of the guys that's in his crew. Maybe it's not Nate, but
it's either Doc, Mike, or
Ted.
Ted,
maybe
Ted. And yeah, you can tell he's using a very similar intonation with him, but it's just similar enough that that it's not Sarge.
Oh yeah, and he's good. Even like somebody like Jeff. Jeff's one of my favorite characters for some reason, and he just has like a slight, I don't even know how to explain it, almost like a bit of a surfer voice or something, just ever so slightly. And it's all Vince, and he doesn't, even when he does female voices, he doesn't try to sound, how do you put it, like fake feminine, or like some super high pitched, but it's a lady talking.
Yeah.
And we're going to welcome Rachel back. How you doing, Rachel?
I'm doing good. It actually helps if I take my YouTube off before I try getting on StreamYard, so that you're not hearing yourselves, or I'm not hearing, everything on top of everything.
Absolutely. Yes. So how have you been?
Doing all right. When you guys were talking about the group that was in the trailer park, those were the raiders.
Right.
Remember they had caught those 3 raiders, and that was when they said about where the park was, and Sarge had said, these people need killing, and we're going to take everybody that's not the women and children, because they were the ones that were going around and doing the burning and murdering and thieving, and and then the DHS comes in and rescues everybody from these horrible people that are on their payroll.
Yeah, that was so, you almost could see it coming, right? You're like, oh yeah, they're sending these people in ahead of time doing their dirty work, and it's a trope in some of the other post-apocalyptic books I've read where raiders come in ahead of time and they're just state sponsored. Do you guys ever read about pirates and privateers?
Mm-hmm.
And the only difference was that privateers were government sponsored and pirates were independent. Other than that, they raped and pillaged and killed just the same,
Yep.
So now that you're on here, Rachel, I'd like to get your thoughts. It's kind of a touchy subject, but I thought I wanted to ask about it. So the whole idea of sexual assault seems to be a prevalent theme in control and that sort of thing. What were your thoughts in this book, especially?
As regards to
Like
whether or not that would happen, or
no, it's such a hard. I even hate hearing about it, But yeah. So start with whether it would happen, because I think it probably would. But
well, yeah. I mean, anytime that people have the ability to take control over a situation, what more control can you have over somebody, really?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
To take away their bodily autonomy.
Right.
Autonomy. Thank you. I was lost on the word there.
That's okay.
When they got caught after, the only thing I could think was, man, Mary's got to go. And that probably seems really, really harsh. But in all honesty, what level of betrayal do you find to be acceptable?
None. In that situation, you can't accept any.
We talked about that. Because do you think that Mary had a bit of Stockholm syndrome or a little PTSD?
Absolutely. She was just so terrified of anything outside those walls. She'd do anything to just stay there because, do you have any idea what can happen out there? And that was pretty much her whole thing. The grass is not always greener. We're safe. We're warm. We have food. They protect us. Really? Did they protect you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not even close, eh?
Yeah. And Mary's PTSD gets worse.
Yes, it does, for sure.
Is that a spoiler?
We won't. We'll stay away from it. But yeah.
Oh no, that's obvious. It really is.
Did they ever mention? And I'll ask Nate this too. But did they ever mention why Mary's PTSD was so bad? Like what may have happened to her beforehand? I don't think they did they?
No, but once you start getting into book 4, you're gonna see a lot of stuff that really will tick that up a lot. So,
I only got a chapter and a half today, so
book 4 is really good. You'll enjoy it. Have you started it yet, Rachel?
No, I actually re-listened to this one during the day so that I could make sure that I was remembering everything before we got started.
I should have. I re-listened to it about 2 weeks ago, and I've listened to 3 or 4 books since, so it's all kind of jumbled. But I
only listened to this for the first time 2 weeks ago.
That works. What were they doing to them? They had music once they took them into because torture is a big theme in this book too, right? Maybe I'm a sadist, but I really enjoy Sarge's torture.
Now you're getting into book 4.
Am I? Okay. So the music, was that not in book 3?
That's in book 4.
Sorry, guys. Yeah. So there's more torture involved there, but I won't get it. It all blends together.
Book 3, they are literally just thrown in the brig.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you don't have O'Shane and his boy.
But they do get jumped though, right? Because they met and they give them the map, and then we were talking about, because Dan was talking about how Sarge said, and that was a little cold, but I always call Morgan a realist, but Sarge is even a bigger realist, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Leanne with him, and she'd already been shot once, so
true.
I thought it was Taylor with them.
Was it?
The one that wasn't shot.
Could be.
But either way, Morgan was the one that wanted to go help them, but yeah, his daughter was there.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. When he pulled her punk card and said, "Oh, there's not going to be any shooting. Go ahead and take her with you." It's like,
Mm-hmm.
know
Yeah.
that there's probably at least a 50% chance that there's going to be shooting going on.
Yeah.
That whole thing too. That is such a married couple's interactions too. You know, each of you friggin', you know, everybody loves each other, but the whole, I don't want to say pushing each other's buttons, but just, you know, one person tests the other a little bit, and then you're all fucked up. You know, you're like, oh man, now my back's against a wall. I got no choice. Now I got to take her.
Yep.
Okay. So I will say the one thing I do like about the Going Home series is there's not a ton of sex scenes in these books.
Yeah, you're right.
I
don't know if there's any. Has there?
Morgan shows. Yeah, he puts his hand up her robe. Like,
right, and that's the only thing you've ever heard. But
yeah,
you read some of these other ones like Zombie Rules, and there's like a threesome in there. It's like every other book. It's I mean, it's
you're
like,
right, because that drives me
what
nuts.
are you doing?
You know, the Walking Dead was bad for that. You're like, okay,
Yeah,
you guys are absolutely filthy. You're disgusting. You've been on the road for weeks. You're trying to stay alive, but hey, let's have sex. You know, it's like, really? Yeah. Like, I get it. I totally get it. But yes, you're right, Nate. I do appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, so I'm at work.
What's that, Nate?
I'm at work, and either I'm playing it on my radio or I'm listening to it in my earbuds. I don't want to be listening to this stuff. Or yes,
so yes, there was, and that's what I was going to say was, you know, sex in this is almost it's almost always discussed in a power scenario.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's wasn't Jess, who was it that went out on the
Fred
in the what was it? Fred. Yes. Yeah. And again, there it was. It was always it's always a power thing. It's always I'm going to exert my power over you, and you're going to take it because I'm the boss and you're not.
Because if it works, then now you have built your little fiefdom by one. And every time that happens on the female side, you're constantly building another brick. And then, and this is just my opinion, based off of the whole Fred scenario, if you continue doing that and you get more and more women, they're going to bring more and more people in general to allow you to build your piece of your community. Yeah, I don't know if it would be embarrassment or just sheer power alone that would allow you to do that, but I think that has a whole lot to play in it. Is you're becoming your own personal kingmaker in doing that because you now have exercised that power.
It's definitely a theme in Chris's book. You know, overall, I appreciate what I really like about reading Chris's stuff is that he doesn't shy away. You know, so I watched, there was I don't know if it was a video or it was an article I read the other day. They're talking about the new Game of Thrones coming out and how they've tamed it down because it's been made post whatever. You know what I mean? They don't want to piss people off. And so now they've tamed everything down and whatever it is. But I mean, if you watched the first series of Game of Thrones, you know, it ended horribly. But I mean, that was about as erotic and violent and, you know, all of that. And what I like about Chris is it feels like he's telling a story from the 90s, and that's what I enjoy. You know, there's certainly no politically correctness in his books, or very little.
Yeah, there have been a couple of things that have popped up that didn't seem right in today's woke culture, and so I did go back and look to see how long ago, and I thought it was further back when he wrote this, just because some of the things were not politically correct. And it wasn't that long ago. You know, book 1, 2, and 3 were really, in the grand scheme of things, were not that long ago.
It's kind of funny how quick we get either sensitized or desensitized to modern sensibilities, whatever you want to call it. You know, like some of my favorite characters are Ted. You know, those guys when they're all the military guys, because I love their humor. Their humor is so politically incorrect. Yeah. And when I had Chris on the show, I asked him, I said, you know, or have things got mellowed out at all or anything? No. And you guys haven't read book 11 yet, but I would say book 11 is, have you read 11, Nate?
No.
Okay.
I'm waiting to be able to find it on audiobook.
Okay. Yeah, because to me, he's every bit as politically incorrect as he was in the earlier books. So I appreciate that about him.
We're going back 15 years now, and so keeping the same tenor through the whole thing. That's good.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So what are your thoughts, Rachel? What else did you think about the book?
I really like the way he plays things out. I actually agree with you about Jeff's character. Really, really liking him.
Yeah.
He's just he's very mellow, very laid back. But like when Mark came at them and he was going to shoot Morgan, and Morgan was just so stunned by the whole thing, just, pop, took him out. Just doing business.
He's
reload.
He's a cool dude. Hey, like, because he did it when they were walking the guys to the FEMA camp too, when they killed him on, because
the ones on the road.
Yeah.
Hey, Rachel, who was the one that took out Mark?
That was Jeff.
Okay, that's
good. We couldn't remember. We couldn't remember because I was thinking it was Morgan, but then I was like, I think it was somebody else that shot him because it was when they were behind the house or whatever, and he was trying to protect his family because they were in the tree, weren't they?
Yeah. They were in a broke down tree.
Yes. Reminds me of a tree that when we used to go to my uncle's hunting camp. There was always a great big hollow tree like that. And when I was a kid, I'd climb into it.
Yeah. So if you recall when they were having the cookout, and I got very confused during this point, but who was it that got killed during the cookout?
Danny, I think.
No, it wasn't Danny.
No,
Danny.
That's the thing. I'll think of his name here in a second, but he was a main character throughout the book up until this point. But I think Chris made a mistake in the way that he wrote that because
Reggie.
The pig guy. Yeah, and the tractor guy.
So
no, Reggie got shot when after that.
No, he got killed at the cookout.
Yeah,
Reggie was the one who had the pigs, wasn't he?
Yeah. Did Reggie get killed on the road, or did he get killed? It was a different guy. Yeah. I think it was at the cookout. Go ahead, Dan.
But what I got confused about, and this is where I think Chris maybe made a mistake in the way that he wrote it, was he said that Danny got hit, dropped to his knees, and then the next thing you know, Reggie's laying there with a big hole in his chest. And it wasn't like the situation where, like where Morgan took the 50 caliber round to the chest and it hit a magazine pouch and, it stopped him from getting killed then. But the same thing happened with Danny. And then the next thing you know, Reggie's dead. So I think he made a mistake there. Maybe it's a challenge to go back and reread that part, but that's one of those odd things that didn't make sense to me. And I went back 2 or 3 times. It's like, okay, it's definitely Reggie dead, but Danny that got shot, according to the way he wrote that.
Because Danny,
so you're actually reading the book
and
like the actual physical book, Dan.
Yeah.
Okay, because I did the audiobook, and I'm pretty sure Tim did the audiobook also.
Yeah.
When I went back and read on Goodreads, and you read it all through Amazon, a lot of readers' biggest complaints about the written book, a lot of people say that there should have been an editor involved. Yeah. And it's no slam, because in the audio, of course, I think Duke probably corrects a lot of things because I didn't notice anything. I don't know if it's just me. I just didn't. But apparently that's a bit of an ongoing issue. Did you?
Well, and you hear it in the audiobooks.
Sure. Yeah, there are sometimes, yes.
Every once in a while, you'll hear them go back and add words, and it's like, okay, that sounded totally different. So you went back and fixed that.
Have you? Yeah. Anybody notice that? Every so often, Duke sounds completely different.
Yeah. There'd be a snippet jammed into it.
You're like, yep, that was they modified that for sure.
Yeah.
So what else did you guys what about Sarge's torture scene again? Because he's had, what's this, 2 or 3 now?
Which one?
This was Which ones did he have? It was 3 guys again, right?
Yeah. Was this the one they fed the pigs again? The second
That was the
instance?
previous book.
Yeah, that was the previous. This was
That
the
was
one
two.
with the guys that broke in. What?
The teenage boys.
Well, the teenage
No,
boys got beat
that's
by their
not
father.
yet.
Are we not talking about the teenage boys?
No.
Did you say his purchasing?
Torturing?
Oh, torturing.
Yeah, because it was the guys that told them where the trailer was, right? When they went the compound, that they caught the 3. That was in this book, right?
I thought they
No, that
fed
was
those
two.
ones.
The pigs.
I thought they fed that guy to the pigs because he shot Leanne.
Oh, maybe you're right. Yeah. Okay. I just always appreciate Sarge.
Maybe. I don't know.
Because that was the one where he beat the guy on the foot, right? Where he had the PVC pipe and he.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh Sam. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was book 2.
that was book 2. Okay, I went back a little too far then. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember because
They were
Rachel,
the ones that got marched out onto the road and Jeff shot them
was
because
that-
they were the ones that told him where the raiders were.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay, but then after that, there was the next guys that told them where the compound was, right? Or was that the same group?
That was those guys.
Okay, yeah. Well, then who was it that got fed to the pigs?
Maybe I'm
That-
missing.
Yeah.
Further back, because
That
No,
was
it might be the head in 4 or 5
okay.
because I know it happens again.
Yes.
That was Pat's son and his friend that was trying to find him, Randall, and I can't remember who the other boy was.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah, because it was right after they got done after Thad fed the mailman to the pigs.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was Reggie, so he was the one that was shot. Yeah. Now that I'm like taking it into context like that, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
So what about the DHS? I mean, obviously it's, he's not very subtle about it, but there's quite a few Nazi kind of illustrations or kind of ideas in there. Did you pick up on that? I know.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it when Sarge said, "What is it with you guys?" And was it stadiums or when was that? I forget what that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah,
What's with you guys
stadiums or
with
something
stadiums?
like that. Yeah.
And then when they're out doing the drive, or when Fred goes out and they're trying to find supplies or whatever,
Right.
and they have a long conversation, and basically they're like, you need to get over it. You just need to accept the fact that we're going to feed you, and you need to stop asking so many damn questions.
Yeah, when they killed that guy just to be able to camp there for the night.
For the night, and then they're gone. Yeah.
So I was listening to that the thing about the stadium part, and I was actually I have a big lawn at the church that I mow, so it's like 4 acres, so I have plenty of time to listen to this, and I do recall that, and immediately my mind was taken back to Katrina, where they put everybody in the
That's what it was. Yes.
I think that's so he that was the second time that he's drawn back to something that was really fucked up. So of course we're talking about Katrina, but my favorite callback to anything is in book 1, whenever he did the what's his name, John Wesley Rawls, the Patriot. But they said Patriot, and he's like, F that.
I never picked up on that until he was on the show and told me about that.
Yeah, Patriots sucks.
Yes, that's it.
I honestly just thought it was a football reference. I really did. Yeah.
Oh,
wasn't
my God,
wrong.
that book was, or that whole series was. Oh, it was so hard.
The whole series reads like, I don't know. It's like they took a prepper manual and tried to turn it into fiction. Have you ever read it, Rachel? Patriot? No. Okay. Don't. I don't want to.
Don't do it.
I don't know. Geez, I shouldn't be such a whatever.
Every other paragraph says, "By God's grace and His divine providence." It's like,
Oh God,
oh,
you won't get many.
Mormon write this? Who wrote this book? Nothing against Mormons, but it's like we don't talk like this. People, normal human beings, don't talk like this. We say shit and damn and stuff.
So you're saying it's a cross between like.
I know what you're gonna say. I think.
God, what was that show? Handmaid's Tale.
Oh,
I've never
you know what?
seen that.
I didn't hate that show. It's okay. It does get, but so 299 days, I like Glenn Tate, and the book itself tells a really good story. And I know that, the whole spiritual end of things is very important to him. But my God, when you're reading this book and just you've read some of it, Nate, where the voice talks to him, and you're like, really? Like, I'm sorry. It just
so you're saying it's kind of like 299 days in The Handmaid's Tale, all rolled into one.
It's definitely. I don't know. I don't want to. I couldn't get through book 1 of Patriots. It reads like somebody took a bunch of lists and then decided to make a story around a bunch of lists.
Yeah. Book 1 was an Amazon shopping list.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. Yes. And whatever, you know what? I'm never going to have him on the show, so it doesn't matter.
Did it have the affiliate links in it though?
Yes, it did.
Are you fucking serious, Dan?
Yes.
Did it?
The actual paperback in book 1, in the back of it, it had a whole bunch of things. So my wife is, God bless her, she is all about having paper so that if the grid goes down,
sure, I get it.
She's got paper. So she's got, actually, I might have. Give me a minute. I'm going to look on my shelf. I might have it.
So, Nate, have you ever listened? So I listened to, I don't remember which one it was. It was a make yourself better kind of book last summer. I think it was the 4-Hour Work Week. I think that's what it was. And it's a cool book, but they do the audio, and oh my God, they read. They read website addresses throughout it, and I'm like,
oh God,
who says that's a good idea? You're like, if you want more of this, then go to HTTP. You're like, that's, if you're doing an audiobook, you don't need to tell me, cut that out. Like, yeah. So I can't believe it, because it really does. Patriots, like, he's right. It reads. So you guys ever, I don't know if you ever went on, like, when TSP was big on, when they had the forum, it was its own thing. You could go on there and you could pull lists off. And in 299 days there, Glenn Tate talks about a bunch of things. Like, there's a list, like 100 things that disappeared during a collapse,
Yeah.
And all of that, it's like Patriots took all of those lists, put them all together, and then strung them together with a little bit of narration. It just doesn't do it. And I am sorry if anybody's listening to this, they're like, Tim's the biggest asshole ever. I love Patriots. It's the best book. But hey, everybody has their own cup of tea, and buddy, I'm sorry. And I couldn't write. Like, I'm not trying to say that I could write like he could, because I can't.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it's all reference in the back.
God.
Just didn't do it for me. No, not even a little bit.
It even has things like FFL, Federal Firearms License. I mean, it's just,
it's full of, I listen, and it is very, and I'm not slamming anything religious. I'm sure I've been open about where I stand on things. It just, when that's such a big part of the book, it just, I don't know, it takes me out of it. I'm sorry, it just does. Like 299 days. He's like, when the voice said to me, and you're like, really? Like, is it Abraham telling him to cut Isaac in half? Like, no, come on. This is,
Are you telling you he's schizophrenic?
Well, that's
that could be it too.
Right? Like, it's just tough. And the other thing is, in 299 days, when he talks about it, the voice, he's not specific about saying it's God. It's just the outside voice. It's almost like, what he's trying to do, but anyway, whatever. But I do like 299 days. I love the Grant, his whole thing. And so Chris Dixon says he wondered about that too, if he was schizophrenic. But today I listened to most of, or the last 2 days, 1 second later, 1 second after.
1 second after.
Yeah. Have you got any of you guys read that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Rachel, I'm not telling you what to read, but you will enjoy it. It is a good book.
It's fun.
So you're trying to get me hooked on more prepper porn. What the hell, dude?
It's not prepper porn at all.
It was written by a non-prepper. At least at the time he wrote it, he wasn't a prepper. His name's William W.
Forsyth.
So I sent him an email asking him to be on the show. Never got a response, but I'm going to send another one because I'll just keep bugging him till he comes on, because
Tim, he ran an exercise in North Carolina where he lives. and it was on Nat Geo, but it wasn't one of those
Crazy ones.
yeah
Yeah.
Doomsday Preppers. It wasn't anything like that. And so what he did is he did a role-based scenario to get the town involved to say, hey, if we have a coronal mass injection or an EMP, how are we going to react as a community? Because it's a real small North Carolina community. And so he spent a lot of time going into this. And so his research from all of that, as I understand it, his research from all of that led into the book that he wrote. And
Yes.
so,
He wrote a report for Congress.
yeah.
Yeah. About the dangers of an EMP. And Newt Gingrich is his buddy. And he helped back him. But of course, he never got anywhere with it. And that's where he started writing all these books on afterwards. But I think you'll enjoy it, Rachel. He's an excellent author. Really good.
1 Second After is really good, but is also very dark.
It's dark.
Yeah, it is. Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Very dark.
Who do we got here? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Bonnie Blue 2A. Nice to have you on here, Bonnie. Said Day of Wrath by William Fortune.
That's him. That's the same guy. Yeah.
Is also excellent. It's a standalone book. Has anybody read Day of Wrath?
Mm-mm.
So I'm going to ask Bonnie. I think this is the one about the terrorist attacks. And if it is, I'm halfway through it, never finished it. But 48 Hours is his book on CMEs. And holy cow, if you want to think 1 Second After's dark, that one is, oh man, it's good, but it hit me like, you ever watch The Road, the movie The Road?
Oh yeah.
I still need to watch that.
Love that movie.
I've only ever watched it once because it takes the wind right out of your sails, like especially as a parent. Oh man. Anyway,
Yes.
it's tough.
1 Second After will do that too.
You're right. Yep. So we won't ruin it for you, Rachel, but
1 year after the rebuilding that they were doing in that, he took everything that was just so normal day to day, trying to, like when they did the have you all done 1 year after yet?
halfway.
Okay.
I never finished it. I'm going to go back after I finish this one.
They found a way to do a turbine with the water flow. I think it was a water flow in a river, and they were able to generate power for the city. But then all of the fighting and everything between the troops and the civilians and all that, I think he did a really good job really representing how all of that might happen in that kind of a situation.
Well, what I really enjoyed about him is this is the second time I read it once years ago, and now I'm re-listening to it. Turns out he's a very devout, evangelical Christian, but he doesn't push it in his books. It's there, but I was really impressed because I got watching a bunch of videos on him, and he'd been on, like, I don't know if you know what is the Christian TV station down in the States? What is that one? Does anybody know?
Trinity Broadcasting Network.
It might be TBN. Anyway, he was on one of the, I can't remember if it was Jimmy Swagger. I can't remember which one it was. One of the guys. He was on quite often. Yeah, I knew all the guys.
Sorry, Jimmy Swagger makes me laugh.
Mm-hmm. Because he is. Yeah. Oh, look, there's Rachel. Oh, who's that, Rachel?
Buddy. That's Bruno.
Hi, Bruno.
Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. Yeah. He needs snuggles.
Oh, that's all right. But yeah, anyway, I know we went off on another tangent here, but that's kind of the fun of the book discussions. But yes, 1 Second After is a great read. Yeah. It's actually the book that introduced me to the idea of EMPs. I don't think I knew what they were. It might have been the very first.
Good boy.
I don't know if you'd call it prepper porn, but it would definitely be one of the, preparedness related fiction that I started with for sure.
Same.
My favorite zombie book is Zombie Rules.
Yes, I haven't listened to it yet, but he keeps talking. You keep telling me about it, Nate.
Yeah, when I don't remember who wrote it, but the kid Zach, it's really good, and I think there's a dozen books. I think.
Okay.
I think I'm on like 7 or 8, if I remember. I have to go back and look. But
and it is zombies, then, hey?
Yeah, it's a legit zombie book, but it's nicely done.
Okay.
It's not your oh my God, this is complete and total bullshit, but it's nicely done.
I'm a sucker for zombies anyway. I always have been. But yeah. Although The Walking Dead, I always talk about it, but it didn't really it didn't really work out toward the end. I haven't watched it in 3 or 4 years. So
yeah, we watched till about season 6, and we got so sick of Rick. It's like, somebody please kill this guy. I mean, I have never wanted anybody to die until season 6 with Rick.
I always said I think they'd have been better off keeping Shane and getting rid of Rick. I love Shane.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the guy that had the baseball bat with the barbed wire on it with Lucille,
Negan.
I think was the name of it.
Negan.
I think that was Negan. Yes. Okay. I just bought Zombie Rules, so thank you.
So is it
it's good.
So is it available on Audible? I didn't think it was it, or is it?
I just bought it. I bought the books.
It's on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, you sent me that. I'll have to check that out.
Okay. Yeah. I grabbed the paperbacks.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna order. I keep saying first off, I had what was his name there? Terry Grant the other day, a Man Tracker on the show. And I got to get his books because I know my dad's a big fan of his. But I've been wanting to get that box set from Chris, the first 10 books or whatever. He said,
we want to get it too.
I just, it's one thing after another. I always forget. So,
Okay. So I hate to be the jerk to drag us back to center.
Oh, that's okay. I was trying to work us there.
So getting back to the book.
Yes.
As we're coming to the end, we know now that we are. I think that based off the little bit that I've already had on the next book, I think that we're going to be stuck with the prison here for a little bit. Thoughts?
Well, okay. So a thing that I like to do, since Dan, you haven't been on here before, but Rachel. I like that Rachel's reading along with us and hasn't gone any further because Nate and I both know. But how about we ask you two what your predictions are for book 4? Do you want to start, Rachel?
Ladies first.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting out of that prison for a while. Although I'm pretty sure the prison's going to be getting hit hard pretty soon. What's the name of the next book?
Forsaking Home.
Forsaking Home? Okay.
The titles don't always give away a lot anyway. I think they're just, he's like, okay, what can I add to Home? It was like, you guys ever remember Sue Grafton? She wrote M is for Murder. She had the poor thing died when she had like 2 letters left in the alphabet. But yeah, it's like she just kind of had to find a letter. But yeah, anyway, sorry, go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to pretty much turn their back on where they were. I don't know how well those cabins are going to keep them going. Seems like they're kind of well known, so they might end up getting, hoofing it out of there too. Unless you want to talk about like how many other forces are they going to actually get dragged into that? Because you guys were already talking about there wasn't the reserves. It was,
what do they call them?
National Guard.
National Guard. There you go.
National Guard with their one Marine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love
their one Marine.
Shane.
The one crayon eater.
Yeah.
Sarge is so mean to him.
I'm just going to tell you right now, if you're looking at an encampment of a bunch of National Guard guys and you want a Marine and I'm the guy, and it's like, okay, well, he served in the Marine Corps, so he knows every fucking thing that there is to know. Yeah, you're fucked. I know like 4 things.
Hey, Dan, what's the best flavor of crayon? Please let us know.
Green.
You're muted, Tim.
Rachel.
I'm waiting to. Tim, what are you saying?
National Guard. What is the National Guard?
Think rent-a-cops. I hate to say it, but it's like 2 weeks a year. You're
like the reserves? Do you guys have reserves?
The reserves,
So, Dan?
No.
Dan shaking his head.
No, National Guard is a little different from the reserves. So I've got a lot of friends that have served in the reserves. They have actually been full-time National Guard. So basically, they're a part of the Army or the Air National Guard, and they basically serve like a full active unit, but they still have civilian jobs. A great friend of mine, I have dinner with him almost every Thursday. He's a sergeant major for the Army National Guard. They basically serve like the reserves, but they're more of a ready reserve than they are a
Okay.
like a weekend warrior kind of a thing.
So they would be, so I mean, whatever. For instance, like when you guys went to Iraq or whatever, they would have been the first units called up after the regulars, would they?
They would have been the last units called up after the regulars.
But before the reserves, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So they're okay.
Yeah, and there were a lot of National Guard that went over to Iraq. I remember that.
Yeah.
So are there National Guard for each of like the Air Force, the Navy, that kind of stuff?
No, it's all 50 states.
Oh, so is the National Guard state then?
Yes.
Okay, so in 299 days, that's so when the states, so for some of you, I don't know, anyway, when the states held back on their forces, that was their own National Guard then, was it?
That was their governors.
Yeah.
Okay. So
the easiest way to look at it, and I'm going to go on politics hardcore on this, and I don't really give a shit. The left considers the National Guard the militia.
Oh, okay.
And when they bring up the whole Second Amendment, we're a well-regulated militia.
Right.
The left says, well, you have the National Guard. Join the National Guard, and there you go.
Oh, okay.
So fuck that bullshit. We are well-regulated militia.
Yeah, well,
we have the firearms. The National Guard is like what, 2 weeks a year?
Yeah.
Well,
1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So that's very similar to the reserves up here in Canada then. That's kind of what they do up here. So, but different, of course, because everything's kind of national. But Chris Dixon threw this up here. He says they need to run out of fuel. I've never seen so many mobile units keep going on such little fuel. Talk about miles per gallon.
That lady that wants a free pig every few months, and she can give you 7,500 gallons of gas if you just bring her a pig.
You know, even though they said they got 75 or 80 gallons of fuel or whatever, that really wouldn't last that long, would it?
That's 2 tanks in that Suburban.
Right.
Pretty much, yeah.
And my wife gets, what does that truck get? 17 miles a gallon, 33-gallon tank, 530 something miles to 600 miles, depending on if she's on highway or local.
I suppose the one thing is they're not driving that far, are they? I guess that what's that, Rachel?
I was gonna say they were using the 4-wheelers a lot for stuff.
True.
Yeah.
But even as far as like from Morgan's home to the camp, I don't think it's that far, is it?
Yeah, they never say.
Reference I don't get. Maybe you guys get this, but from where these cabins that they took over to the little suburbia they have, I'm figuring it's like 20 miles. Am I wrong?
It could be. Because it's about, was it about 2 hours round trip? Was it that they were, do you remember? Because they did, I want to say 3 or 4 trips through the night when they were moving things. Is that right?
Could be.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it's the thing that threw me off was always book 1, book 2, when they're talking about the ham radio stuff. And Morgan's talking about a 250-mile walk. You ain't doing that on VHF and UHF.
No.
Right.
So
VHF, right?
Yeah, that's got to be HF, which is a 500-mile circle. So how are they getting up to Tampa to talk to those guys on UHF and VHF when they're down in the Ocala National Forest, which is what, halfway between Miami?
Yep.
We should have. I'm sure he has all the time in the world, but it would be nice to have Chris do a map sometime to kind of show.
It's in the book. It's in the the 10-box set.
Really?
The actual map of all the areas is on there.
Okay. Well, then that makes it worth it right there. Huh.
But it's just me knowing like how radio works. It's got to be 100 to 150 mile circle.
Chris said even with the ATVs go through a pile of fuel running around like they do, and now they're messing around with an inboard boat as well.
Yeah,
they do. I know. Fuel, it's always kind of a ticking clock going forward in the next few books. And I mean, that fuel definitely plays a big part in some of the stories, doesn't it, Nate?
Yeah, the further they get along, the more important fuel gets.
So what do you think?
Standard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And because I always laughed, like in The Walking Dead again, you know, they never really said how long it was, but 2-3 years, and they'll come along and they're like, oh, this car will start up. It has a battery. Really? Come on.
Yeah.
You know, and the fuel. And yeah. What do you think?
All I'm going to say is I'm shocked that my chainsaw has been running on the same tank of 2-stroke fuel for the past 2 years.
I'm quite impressed, Nate. Yeah, because you said you just hauled it out and it started, didn't it?
Yep, a couple weeks ago.
I think we need to get Dan's predictions. You still there with us, Dan? Oh, he's on mute. Did we lose him? There he is.
He's there. Just got on mute.
That's all right. Any other predictions, Rachel?
Not really. Dan put a finger up. Looks
okay.
like he's almost ready.
He'll be all right. He's looking something up.
He's probably looking up the distance.
Oh, Dixon says he's shopping. Yeah, he probably see. He went and he got Patriots out. And now he's ordering all that shit from Amazon.
Yeah.
No.
Let me give you my Amazon affiliate link real quick.
What do you think,
Dan?
Dan?
Josh and Brian are going to be disappointed you beat them to it.
Yep.
Believe it or not, I was trying to hit the super chat, but I can't do super chat while I'm in here. So I had to mute, and then it didn't work out too good, but I'll get to it in a minute.
No worries. So what do you think, Dan? Where do you,
so what was the question? Because I was not listening to anything.
That's all right. What are your predictions for book 4? I know you can cheat a little because you're a chapter and a half in?
Yeah. I think we're going to spend an entire chapter in the prison, or I'm sorry, in the camp.
An entire book?
No, chapter or book?
Book. My opinion is we're going to spend this whole book dealing with the FEMA DHS camp, whatever it is, and I'm thinking on about knowing how Chris writes. We're going to be about chapter 30 of 35 before we actually see something happen. And I love the story. I love the build that he gives to that. So I'm hoping that I'm right on this, that he builds a whole lot more into this. So we've already gone from you got to build sandbags to now you get to do food. So what are we going to do next? I want to see the whole book built on nothing more than getting Jess and Fred out of the camp. Mary, if she takes a bullet, I'm totally cool with it.
Poor Mary. She's just sitting back suffering from PTSD. She doesn't deserve to get shot.
Well, if she does, but if she doesn't, that's okay too, right? So
okay, so let's play another game.
I think we're going to spend an entire book on getting out of the camp, and the fun and the excitement getting out of that camp, I think, is going to be phenomenal.
All right, so let's play a next one since we've had a few major characters go down. Who's the next major character to catch a bullet?
Sarge.
What do you think, Rachel?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about that one.
If you had to pick a character that, I don't want to say disposable, but could end up, who do you think it might be?
That's a really, really hard one.
That's okay. All right. Well, let's try this one. Let's see. What are the chances? Do you guys think Singer survives book 4 or doesn't survive book 4?
I'm hoping not.
I hope she dies, but I don't care.
That's funny. He's just so damn good at writing. Oh, go ahead, Rachel.
Okay, say who would you sooner see die, Mary or Singer?
Mary.
Singer.
Definitely Singer.
Mary sold them out.
Yeah.
I love it's so much fun having people on who haven't read further along. It's so much fun because Nate and I know all this stuff that we won't talk about, but it's just cool. I love it because it's almost like when I get my kids and I get to let them watch some of my favorite movies and I get to sit back and watch them enjoy them for the first time. That's what I like about this because I get to see you guys enjoy these books for the first time again. Because this is my third time through them and I just love them. It's hard to. The problem is this was some of the first prepper porn I ever read, other than 1 Second After and On the Beach. I think other than that, so this is the first big series I made it through, and man, it's hard to live up to this. This is some of the best out there. Any other predictions, Dan?
I'll reserve.
That's totally fine. No, this is I was just trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to ask you guys about. But so right now where it stands, what is your favorite character, Rachel and Dan? Go ahead first, Rachel.
Like I said, I really like Jeff's character.
Okay. I love Jeff. I think part of the reason I love him so much is just how he was introduced. The whole gum thing and the kicking him in the rib cage. And he was another one. So there's another thing that Chris is really good at. When he introduces characters, you never quite know where he's, how do you want to put it? He's always close to the hand when he writes some of these characters. So Jeff is one. Dalton's another one. And who else? So there's a Canadian that comes in later on whom I'm quite fond of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Chris is very good at not spoiling it. So you're never quite sure where they stand early on. You're like, okay, is Jeff a good guy or is he a bad guy? Or, I appreciate that about him.
I like Jeff. I write Harley, so Jeff is kind of a good guy for me, but I'm kind of leaning into a little bit. I think that she's going to do something phenomenal.
Who is?
Little Bit.
Oh, Little Bit. Oh, I love Little Bit. Yes.
I have a little girl that lives next door to me, and every time I read her name, anything about her, it reminds me of her. Her name is McKinley, and it reminds me of her every single time. And I could see her doing this.
Little Bit's great. I love it. And I read the whole series once before I realized that all of the characters were based on real people, family members, his actual kids, his wife and friends and things. And it is kind of cool because, again, she's doing well now, but that's why he couldn't be on the show the first time because Little Bit was in the hospital.
Oh.
And who did you say was your favorite character, Dan? Did I ask you that yet?
My favorite character?
Yeah, so far.
Oh, Jeff, definitely.
Jeff. Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate. And Dalton, we haven't had Dalton yet.
Dalton's not in the picture yet.
I won't ruin. Dalton's a great guy too. There's all kinds of great characters, but yeah, Jeff's good. I still, after making it all the way through, I still got to say, I'm pretty sure Sarge is my favorite character. I like
Sarge.
Yeah, his old crummy attitude. He's just such an asshole.
I like Sarge until Dalton shows up.
You're right. And then Dalton is awesome. And then when he talked about who Dalton's based on, anyway, but we won't spoil anything for you guys. But we've been an hour and a half. I think we've retreaded book 3 quite a bit. So we got book 4 coming up. What did we say book 4 was called, guys?
Forsaking
Home. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, which I guess is kind of, we know that they've left, they've moved to the camp and but it's a good one. I think, so I don't know if I asked you this, Rachel, I should ask you this before we finish up too, but one of the biggest complaints on Goodreads about book 3 was the fact that it didn't resolve anything and it felt like a filler book. Did you find that at all? Or did you Did you? I mean, obviously you enjoyed it, but did you find it different than book 1 or 2?
It really was just developing the characters a little bit more, I think. Developing their situations, a little bit more of a layout. Filler? No, I don't think it was a filler. It didn't break any new ground.
Right.
But like I said, I think it was just developing deeper into the story, bringing new people in. You really had to have something that was going to take time for working with everything that Thad went through. And it's really bringing out more of the people's personalities as far as where their roles are going to fall, most likely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's perfect. Character development. That's what book 3 was. He spent a lot of time building characters, dealing with the women in the camp. And why can't I think of her name right? Kay, is it Kay? Is that her name?
Kay.
Yeah, I like Kay quite a bit too. And she's a great character. Fred and Jess. It was nice to see Jess again. And I remember one of my, I don't want to say complaints, but one of the big issues I had with book 2 was how, I don't want to call it the cliffhanger, but how they kind of tacked on the Jess thing at the end of the book. But after going back and rereading 3, it kind of makes sense. But I don't know whether they'd thrown it into book 3 and you didn't even know that Jess was still kicking around or not. Doesn't matter. But it was, yeah.
I waited the entire book 2 until chapter, was it 35 or 37? And he said, "Hey, is that Jess out there?" And it's like, holy shit. We finally got it back together.
That's funny because I remember the first time I read it, maybe this sounds, I didn't really give 2 shits about Jess. I didn't care where she went. I was happy knowing where Morgan and Thad were. And I assumed that Jess would come back around. But then once this whole storyline, because we went through, has she talked about what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. That all happened. Okay, good. Yeah. Because that was a good storyline too. But then I was like, well, if she runs.
Brother.
Yeah.
She talks about how she ended up in the camp.
But but we already dealt with when Morgan was at her town and everything too, right? Morgan and Thad. Yeah, that was in book 1 and 2. Yeah. So, but it was good. I'm glad that they brought her back, and she obviously plays a big part going forward.
For me, the entire time, all 34 chapters prior to it, I was wondering, where is she? Where is she? And it's like, no Jess, no Jess, no Jess. The whole time I'm going through this whole thing, because I didn't think that we could have a full compendium of this story until we brought Jess back into it.
And when you look back on it, early on, I mean, the three characters, right? The 3 road trip characters. So obviously they were important, and he was going to bring them back through. But yeah, they, I mean, without spoiling it, of course, Jess has a big part to play in book 4, of course. So it's a good book. I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts on it either. That's the fun part now at this point. So does anybody, Rachel or Dan or Nate, anybody have any final thoughts, or, where they can find you, or what you want to, I guess, I don't know. Dan, you're in the Telegram group. Rachel,
I have only Telegram with you, Tim. I have no social media. I went back on Twitter and I got choked out about 2 months ago. So yeah,
that's Twitter. Good. You can find Dan on Telegram.
There.
Yep. And Rachel, you're always around in the Telegram group too, aren't you?
That's the only one I managed to keep up with.
I like the size. We have a good size there, and everybody just kind of chats. And even if you miss 100 messages, you can. It's pretty rare that I log in and there's 100 messages missed. So it's a good group, but it's not overwhelming.
I woke up to that Friday morning.
I usually wake up to that every day because I don't have time to jump in stuff lately. It's a busy time of year this year.
Oh, it has been, but it's a good time of year. Winter's coming. I know you guys will be, well, Nate, winter's coming for you too soon, but.
Yeah, I work in snow and ice, so this is going to be a busy time.
Yeah. Oh, and you, Nate, how can people find you?
Well, everybody can find me at twochickshomestead.com. Aaron and I do a weekly podcast, and we're doing chicken processing class this weekend. So,
are you guys recording that?
We thought about it, but I think we're going to take a pass on it.
just enjoy the moment and do it?
Yeah, because we're planning on doing it this morning, but the girls were a little bit too talkative today.
I get it. Totally get that. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, but for anybody that has been listening at all to the podcast, the girls actually came out and helped us every step of the way with processing.
Proud of them.
So
that's awesome.
We'll have more on that. That'll be this week's episode coming up, and then we got a new rabbit too. So
I saw that. Yes,
yeah.
Is that an edible rabbit or not?
Yeah, that'll be a breeding rabbit.
Okay.
My lovely wife let me go to Rural King unsupervised, and I came home with a rabbit.
Nice. Nothing wrong with that. Rabbits are quiet too. It's not like
they're quiet.
Yeah.
Just means I need to finish the shed now.
Yes, that's all right. We find time to do everything, right?
Yep.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, so if anybody wants to know, it's the first Saturday of each month. We're going to do another book. So we've got right now, what do we got? 7 more books? No, 8 more books to go through, don't we? Because we just did 3 and we've got 11. Yep. And by the time we get to the end of this, I bet book 12 at least will be out, maybe even book 13.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, because he says we got up to 20 books coming all together. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
But thanks, guys. This was great. Always enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I think 4 is the most we've had, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we had 4 the first go around, but I think this is definitely up there.
Yeah, it was nice to have you too, Dan. You add a lot to it, so I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, guys. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.